Hello and welcome to the show. I am here on Forza 6 with another silly car build. My vehicle today is the Peugeot 205 T16, a relatively highly requested one and a car that I am rather scared of. I will be honest. Reason being, this is by far one of the most difficult cars to drive that I ever did a silly car build on. Now, admittedly, the rules of the series have changed ever so slightly from Forza 5 to Forza 6, as we can keep the car four-wheel drive. Previously, it had to be converted to rear-wheel drive, so I'm hoping that by keeping the car four-wheel drive, it might be a little bit happier. Our engine choices for this, aside from the standard engine, are the Turbo Rally engine or the 3.7-litre V6. We will be going for the V6 in the Peugeot, so there will be a lot of power, an awful lot of power in this car. By the time I have finished with it, we'll be going for the twin turbos as well. We've also got the glorious hill climb body kit to go on the car, which is always good. It's I know I would normally use the Forza Aeros, but for this car in particular, we will have the hill climb kit because it's absolutely balmy. I mean, that's the front bumper for you right there. The rear wing is the most spectacular thing of all time. Are you ready for it? I don't actually know which one of these it is. The first one's quite good. You know, it's not bad. It's a fairly silly table. It's the second one, though. There we go. That's what we want. It is the almightiest of wings. Look at that. It needs scaffolding to hold it up. It is mighty impressive. That's where the Forza puts the wing, or the normal sort of Forza Aero. No, we will be going for the mightiest of wings. We've got to have some mud flaps on the back, of course. Side skirts, sure. We will go for them as well. Does this car have rally lights? I don't actually remember. Do we have rally lights? Oh, we don't have rally lights. Instead, we just have a hole in the bonnet. Sure. I love the 205. It's a great car. I would love to one day own a 205 GTI, but the T16 on here is a terrifying car. Even with all of this downforce, I mean, look at the amount of downforce that we have available to the car, and I'm still petrified of going racing with it. 255 front tyres and the same size rear tyres, a common thing for four-wheel drive cars. They're okay. They're bigger size tyres than the Subaru Brat and so on, so we might get away with it. The real difficulty with the 205 is the car tends to be horrendously twitchy. Now, that is made many times worse when you make it rear-wheel drive, so I'm hoping by keeping it four-wheel drive, it might be drivable, but we are going to put an awful lot of power through the car, and it's going to have to be dealing with the wet conditions as well, so we are asking a hell of a lot of this 205. It's also going to be pretty light by the time we're finished with it. It's not going to be under £2,000, but we may well see it down to about sort of 2,200-ish, and that's in the dangerously twitchy section. I'm saying all this, and I'm sure now I have said all this, that this car is probably going to go fastest of everything. Knowing my luck with kind of predicting how vehicles will go, this could be a monstrously fast car. Or it could be awful and try to kill me. Oh, we only get one stage of weight reduction. Nah, that sucks a little bit. Okay, it's not quite going to be as light then. I guess it is already a road-going version of the rally car, so yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense. Should have thought about that, really. So only one stage of weight reduction. We're not quite going to get it as light as I was initially expecting, although it's still probably going to be around this sort of £2,400-ish mark when we put on the things like the exhaust should drop down a fair amount of weight. There we go. But the likes of the turbo and intercooler will increase that weight back up slightly. We're up to 616 horsepower. The PI is quite high in this car already. Is the engine? I know the engine will get up to sort of 875 horsepower in the 205, and we're already, decent PI in this car. It could possibly be the highest PI of the cars that have gone around here if the PI keeps jumping up in the same way that it is at the moment. The turbos will add 136 horsepower onto this car. Yeah, we're going to have lots of PI. It's all going to come down to, will this be drivable at all, is the big important question, and I fear the answer might not be no. But if it is drivable, we could see something beating the Lancia. Potentially, and that is a very, very much a potentially with this. There we go, that is the car, all done. 875 horsepower, 616 foot-pounds of torque in a car, £2,500. So big power to weight ratio, four-wheel drive traction could come in very, very handy. Will it be a twitchy death machine though? That is always the fear with the 205. So we are here to the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit to test out the Peugeot, where it is going to get 6 laps to try and go as fast as possible. The current leader, the Lancia Beta race car, has a time of 49.8 seconds. Will we be able to lap faster than that? I have no idea with this car. It could go either way. It could be monstrously fast, or it could be utterly, utterly terrible, or it could fall over. It could go somewhere in the middle. How do we fare down this turn 1? Well, the good news is it's actually looking quite controllable here. I am... That first corner hasn't filled me with fear. It is, well, I mean, it's going to spin the wheels. It's going to slide out of these corners when there is so much power. But it's not trying to get all twitchy and horrible, which is lovely. The downforce on the top of the car is working nicely through here. Just about nicely through there. Anyway, I tried to be brave. I tried to use power, and it didn't quite work. This is not as terrifying. It really isn't as terrifying. Now, come to think of it, perhaps the rain is helping in some respects, because there is just less grip overall. There's not enough kind of grip to have the car get really twitchy, if that makes sense to you. I'm hoping that does. It might be working in the car's favour, because it really isn't that bad to drive. That is a surprise. It is a real surprise to me. I thought even with this being four-wheel drive, I thought it would still be, have all manner of problems. It simply doesn't. Oh, careful though, through these corners, because things could easily go wrong. And up from inside here, there is no hint of the crazy, how this car looks. It looks utterly bizarre, but from here you can't see any of it at all. It's just going to look like a normal 205. Right, get turned. There's a little bit of understeer from this, just a tiny little bit, and then when you boot the power on, there's just kind of a four-wheel drift coming out of that final corner. Quite a lot of speed up towards the line, 161 miles an hour. So it makes it, about as fast as the Ferrari 250 LM. Basically, 161 down there. He's very, very fast. You can really get this car out of the corners quickly. However, I think perhaps where we're losing the time, carrying that mid-corner speed in the 205, it just can't quite carry the same speed as perhaps the likes of the GT40 or perhaps the likes of the Lancia. Can I find some time though? We need to find quite a lot of time actually if we're going to be challenging a 49-second lap, which this is something I have found with this series. Often some of the cars that have felt very fast haven't necessarily been that fast, and the likes of the 1M that felt awfully slow was actually really quick around here. 51.2 from the Peugeot. See, this feels much faster than that. It feels like this should be challenging the real fastest cars around here. It just isn't quite, and I'm not sure what more I can do with the car. There is some understeer from this, certainly on turn in, and maybe a little bit of time is wasted putting the power down. I was awful through there. That was completely and utterly my fault through that part. I got the turn in all completely wrong. Trying to decide if it's better to try and be slow into this section, try and get quick out the other side potentially. Is that going to work in the Peugeot? I don't really know. I think where we lose it is the waiting to get on the power out of here. It's just wait and wait and wait, and we do get on the power, we can get some good speed, but the understeer around there is a little bit problematic. That lap there I know was not particularly good. The brakes are also not the best on any car that we have seen. Getting it stopped into turn 1 is a little on the scary side. It does do it, I don't have massive problems with it, but I am having to go quite early on the brakes for some of this section, but this is so much better than I feared it would be. I really thought this car was going to be shockingly awful and absolutely terrifying and be horribly twitchy and nigh on undrivable, And that just isn't the case. It may be a little bit slower than I was possibly expecting from it, but I say I was possibly expecting from it. It's a little bit slower than after that opening lap than I was kind of hoping it might have challenged the top cars. But having said that, it's just a testament that it is even drivable. I am very glad about that one there. We're better out of that final corner this time around. And indeed, we were much quicker on that lap. Please get stopped for turn 1 though, dear God. I didn't have time to look at what speed I was doing. I feel it was probably very, very fast though, coming across that start line. That's something else we've got to work with. The car, we're going 10 miles an hour quicker than a lot of cars down there, so you've got to brake that little bit earlier. I think combine that with the not quite amazing brakes on this car, it is, yeah, something to contend with, certainly. With this, I'm going a little earlier on the brakes into here, because last time around I ran very, very wide through, well, I say very wide, I ran a bit wide through that section, which was less than ideal. Can we be neater with it? We've got to be patient getting on the throttle, even with a four-wheel drive car here. It is wanting to slide its way down the straight. Oh, I tried. I had to give it a go. I had to give it a try. We're going to bounce and spin. I thought I could do it. I thought I could get on the power that little bit quicker. I couldn't do it. We just got the understeer that dragged the car out wide. A 50.5 though is a quick lap time. It is a very quick lap time from the 205. Just let down by that understeer. I was trying to get every little bit of speed I could out of the car, and just too much understeer. I think I'd thrown it away anyway on the opening part of that lap, losing a bit of time. Regardless, yeah, the lap time though is impressive, and the drivability is impressive from the 205 as well. A 50.5 will put the car into third. It beats the Ferrari 250 LM. It is slower than the GT40 though, and I had kind of hoped that this, well, after driving it the first couple of laps, it kind of feels like it could be something that challenges the Lancia, but I think the understeer is just enough to let it down a little bit out of a couple of these corners. I tried putting so much power down, leaving that final turn on that last lap, and that's what got me into trouble. Whereas with the likes of the GT40 and the Lancia, you just turned and it was fine with being flat out of that corner. So yeah, we just have that little bit of understeer from the Peugeot, but the almighty wing did fare really rather well. It is now time though to see how quick this car will go in a straight line, even with all of these interesting aero parts on it. So that, of course, means bringing the 205 to Le Mans. Now, using the crazy hill climb kit does mean that we can't fiddle about with the aero. I believe that stuff was fixed. So, speed-wise, we're going to be a little bit down. 212, though, is still pretty damn good. I wasn't quite expecting that much speed from the little K. This is a lot of speed from the little Peugeot. I do have some fears what's going to happen when we hit a bump. May well launch the car. Okay, 232 looks like we may well see this past 230 miles an hour. That would be really very good going. Considering the huge dam that we essentially have on the back of the car, 232 would be... Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. That is, of course, assuming that we can keep control of this car. It was remarkably good at Brands Hatch. Admittedly, Brands Hatch, though, is mostly low-speed corners and relatively... Oh no, that's actually not a bad car. It's not awful to drive when it starts sliding through here, even on the tarmac. Even on the dry tarmac, I should say. It's not getting twitchy. It's not getting unhappy across the bumps there either. Okay, we get a little bit carried away with the with the sliding. Oh, I've turned in far too soon. Now I suddenly found grip. I'm impressed. I really thought this car might have issues at all sorts of different points, and it's proved me completely wrong. And we're going to get stopped. How do we fare across these bumps? This might cause problems. Nope, none whatsoever for the 205. We may get a very, very big jump into the corner at the end of the straight, or we may just sort of completely ignore it. I don't know. It could go either way. With that, as we're running down the straight, up to 220 miles an hour already. kind of feels like there should be another gear. It's, okay, well, it reckons that it can do 230 with this gear ratio. We'll see if it can or not. 227, 228 miles an hour. Come on, I want that 230 miles an hour in the 205. Come on, 229. There we go, 230. Any more? Any more? 231? Oh, it's close. It's quick. How are we going to fare with the bumps then? Nah. Oh, okay. Little bit leany across there. The initial... Where we've had a few cars kind of bouncing, this one here kind of initially had no issue, and then I went to turn into the corner, and it does kind of lean quite a lot on the suspension, so it did scrape the wall, but there was no major problems with the 205. Well, this car has completely and utterly surprised me. Admittedly, that side of the car has taken a good scrape on on both kind of events, if you like. Yeah, even with that giant air dam of a wing on the on the back, 231 miles an hour is pretty good going and very controlled. No problem with the bumps, no problem with the high-speed corners leading onto the straight either. This car has really rather impressed me. The 205 does very well. I'm glad. I do love the 205, so I'm glad to see the T16 do very well on it. Its straight line speed, well, it's not got the most power of the car, so it's never likely to challenge the 250 LM around here. It does, though, put it into that joint 9th spot with the Challenger Hellcat and the 73 Nissan Skyline. So this thing is as fast as a straight line as the maxed out Challenger Hellcat. That's some good going. That's some really good going from the 205 T16. Yeah, this may be maybe not quite as big a surprise as the Jeep Wagoneer being monstrously good at autocross, but certainly this was far, far nicer to drive than I ever could have expected from the 205, and all with the almighty wing and snowplow at the front attached and everything. Yeah, a really rather surprisingly good car. Anyway, that is it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.